Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I am your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host. Today we have...
Nick Rovers is my name. Hello.
Hi, Nick Rovers. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm actually really good.
Awesome.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. What? As good as it gets here. We're talking about Big Brother 22 today.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm not really
more of the same old, I guess, in and out of the house.
Basically,
yeah.
If this is your first time on Reality Realness, well then welcome. Right now we're on a mission. We are on a mission to 1,000 subscribers. We're trying to do this by October 18th. So if you love reality TV, if you like reality TV gossip, if you like Big Brother, Love Island, whatever else I decide that we're going to cover after this. If you love reality TV, please subscribe right down below or share with your friends so we can hit that mark. And when we do, I will start soliciting these reality TV stars and get them to come on and chat with us. So you know that I'm really active with communicating with the people in the chat rooms. So this might be your opportunity to get up and close and personal with some of your favorite reality TV stars. So I feel like 1,000 subscriber is a good start to being able to feel confident in approaching some of these reality TV stars to chat with you guys. So what do you think about that idea, Nick? Who would you want to chat with first?
Oh, I mean, obviously someone from Big Brother.
And somebody that you think that I could possibly get at 1,000 subscribers.
I honestly think you could get Janelle. I think she loves talking about Big Brother. I've seen some homemade Big Brothers online, like down in the States or something. And on one of their seasons, like their 3rd or 4th, they got the 9 or 10 house guests to their backyard, like we're used to. And they said, oh, to start the season, we have a special message for you. And it was literally like a recorded message from Janelle mentioning their backyard thing, saying, good luck, everyone, have fun. So like, I think it was kind of a cameo kind of thing, but at the same time, I think she likes engaging with fans. So I think that'd be fun for both of us because we're huge fans, of course.
Okay, well, let's go a little bit realistic. Who do you actually?
High or nothing.
I'll ask.
Yeah, I will too.
But anybody that's like a little bit of a lower hanging fruit.
Now I don't want to name names because then they'll be associated with lower hanging fruits. I think because we love Drag Race, maybe getting, like, we got Travis, or you got Travis, maybe get some more like Drag Race Canada people. Like we could try Toronto friends, and yeah, like I think they'd be interested to talk to some other fellow Torontoers. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Hi, DC Duchess. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the subscribe. We love anybody that wants to chat with us. So if you have any questions, we're talking today about Big Brother US All-Stars Season 22, Episode 20, I believe it is. It was the conclusion of the Head of Household competition. So what did you think about this competition in general? You're a games master.
I love no spoilers, so I can watch these comments. Oh, neck and neck, and really get into the diary rooms, like the retellings of it. And then yesterday, I just got a Facebook spoiler, like Memphis's backdoor plan. And I'm like, come on, why would it show this? It hasn't even had the episode. So I thought the HOH comp was really cool. I loved Puzz 3Ds, and they always stumped me as a kid. So I could sense, like, when Nicole and Enzo were having super hard problems, I could get behind that too. Just watching them build it, though, it was intense. I was obviously cheering for Kevin and Devon the whole time. And then Memphis just kind of snuck up and won it quite quickly into the episode. They didn't really go around that long. I thought when they left the episode on the Thursday night, Cody was doing really well. So I was thinking it was going to be Cody. That's what I thought.
It's pretty much the same shit.
I know. So yeah, I love that comp, but I was critical of people. Why weren't they running? Just run and grab all the pieces, get all your physical exertion out of the way, and then sit still, get your heart rate down, and start mentally doing the puzzle, as opposed to like doing this and never having the piece in front of you because it's still over there. You wasted so much time doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since it's not a flat puzzle. Flat puzzle, okay, you can still probably do a big chunk of it without having all pieces, but because it's 3D, you may just need that one piece that's still left in the other corner over there that would be necessary for you to build the rest of it. So stop trying all the other pieces and go and get everything. So you can at least visually see things and be like, oh, I can see how that clicks in there. And you know what I mean? Start seeing the pieces. I think that that's what is the biggest part about doing puzzles, is having just a little bit of knowledge of what pieces are out there. You know what I mean? And like, because usually for me, whenever I pick up a puzzle piece, it usually goes in where it needs to be, because I already kind of decided or figured out what the missing piece should look like, and then I see it and then I put it in. You know what I mean? I mean,
you make an outline so you can follow along the outline until it's finished. Yeah, I agree. And I liked how Christmas was doing the, like, I'm going to do the things I know here and then maybe build it from the ground up. But it never seemed to really take off. But her diary room was really confident when she was talking about it. I just think, yeah, separate pieces, like that middle part that kind of like bulges out on the side with the actual attachments to the water line, like put those pieces together, come back to it. The circular pieces at the bottom, you could tell those are base. Okay, start with those and kind of like triage the pieces. Also, my strategy would have been just to like grab a piece, throw it to my station, and just throw all the pieces. But I'm sure they were told they couldn't do that, but that's my sneaky brain at work. I was just wondering, I no one was doing it. So
I feel like they would say no throwing of the pieces. I feel like that would be part of it, just in case your aim is off and you hit somebody. You don't want
I was most critical of Kevin because he was grabbing like one or two, dropping them off, and then like prancing lightly and slowly back. I'm like, no, this is the relay part of it, and then you work on the mental part of it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was very disappointed with how this HOH ran. Especially because like I like puzzles. Devon has been doing all these puzzles in the house. I don't know how how successful she has been actually, but like she does puzzles and she likes figuring things out. So I just wish that she did better here. Slash, I also want to practice 3D puzzles. Do you know where to get one like that's that big?
If I did, we'd be using it in our season for sure. I'm sure. We could, I don't know, a lot of artists. Maybe we have one commissioned. We can just buy a big piece of foam or like, I don't know, a big piece of foam or something. And we can actually like cut it out maybe and then just chop it into pieces. That's a big undertaking.
I would want it to be made.
Add it to the budget then. We'll just do that.
Okay, now that we've had this thought though, we'll put it out there and we're going to be lined up with something that'd be like, oh my God, exactly. Or maybe that's, the place that Mike Medeiros gets his for Survivor, maybe they have gigantic puzzles, like life-size 3D puzzles. I just want to practice them because like I'm talking about how to do them, but I never actually really done one. So maybe I'll
always have a strategy on what I think is the best route, but in practice it might not obviously be the best. I'm aware of that. But I just was thinking there wasn't much strategy behind the puzzle making, at least that they showed in the episode. So, but I would love to practice myself because it would make me better, and then I could say more confident things.
Right. I was disappointed in everybody else. Everybody else sucked pretty badly, except for obviously, well, David was doing well in the beginning, and then he kind of faltered. Cody was doing well. Tyler was doing well. Memphis did the best, obviously.
Two funny moments for me when we look at Enzo and it's like base and then just like and the piece is sticking out the side. I'm like, what fire hydrant's that tall? Like I was cracking up. And also when Memphis just like puts together this rickety shambly fire hydrant run and hits his buzzer, I'm like, they're obviously not going to give that to him. So I'm glad he ran back and fixed it and then got the win. Well,
like he should know that it should look smooth. It shouldn't look so wonky and like not put together.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if like I felt as though Christmas shouldn't have done that strategy because it actually reminded me of Caitlin when she was doing that 6-piece puzzle and she was like just not fitting it together well and like I wanted her to stay. I didn't want Christmas to win, but I think it was like don't use that strategy. I was of like trying to stand it up and it's not working. Yeah. Womp womp.
I think the refinement to that strategy is just group the pieces that you assume work together, like the rounded top or the bulbous sides or the base pieces. Put those all into little separate piles where you think they go and then work from there. You don't need the top pieces until you've built the base. Like, I don't know.
And also recognize that like the color side is going to be the outside and like the gray part is going to be the inside. So it's kind of like doing the edges kind of first, but like that is a pretty good indicator as to like that piece is not going to go there, you know?
Yeah. Stress and panic though, right?
Yeah.
One big thing was like Danny not wanting to play, and I was yelling at my TV, why not? Always play, go for wins, maybe you're HOH again. And she's like, I just hope to slink in the background. And I'm like, okay, I get why she thinks that or said that. I don't know if it'll happen though, so why not just have a chance to guarantee yourself safety?
Well, I think so also she's pretty much working with everybody except for maybe Tyler. So I think that she's taking the risk that she could use it with, well, in this case, Memphis this week. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she goes to Memphis at some point this week and says like, hey, I have a power. I want to use it on you, like just because I want to work with you, make maybe a final 2 with him.
Right.
Like this gives me the opportunity to play next week. We don't have to tell anybody that I said this. Or she might just go anonymous, which would be kind of badass, and like just put it it's like
just say it's happening
and like just never own up to it.
Because no one would think it would be Danny, because why wouldn't Danny have already used it, right? So yeah, I guess you've convinced me. Good job. I forgot there was an extra week. I thought this was the last week, and I also thought it would be very public. Of course, it would be public when Danny's playing again, but I forgot that the person who used it can still remain in the shadows. So yeah, just use it on Memphis so that your non-alliance members have more competition next week. So long as you still trust Memphis after this week, because he's a little bit of a wild card, or at least he was in week 2.
Well, and that's why I'm saying maybe it might be better for her to use it as a little bit of leverage. Like Memphis doesn't really care; he does his own thing. But maybe she could curry some favor with him and say like, hey, like I'll let you play again next week, and maybe he won't put her up again if he wins, because it seems as though people are starting to get you're not really seeing this yet in the show. Maybe hopefully they'll show it on Wednesday and Thursday, but people are starting to get a little bit annoyed with Danny.
I could predict that for sure. Especially I was just like jumping ahead a bit with the vote with Ian and all that. Like, I figured like I think it was Devon always says it, or someone's like, whatever's done in the dark will come to light. Or was that, I forget who said that, or someone I know says that all the time, or is in the show. But I was just like, I think this is exactly one of those scenarios where I play games like this with the hidden thing. You convince someone and you just wait and see who sides with who and who can get away with what lie. Like it always comes out who the traitor actually is. So I think I can see why Danny is not popular anymore.
Well, and didn't make it clear on the show. It kind of painted Danny as the mastermind here. But it was actually Nicole's idea. She came up with the plan to pin the vote on David.
Wow.
And so Nicole does her thing as just play like the victim and be like, well, like I can't do this. Like this pains me. But like, she's the one that wants to pin this vote onto David, and Danny is just a little bit more comfortable with being the villain. And so I think that she probably talked more in the diary room about it. And Nicole was just crying about it. So they're just like, let's go with this storyline. We started painting her as
we already have done it.
We didn't tell, so we might as well just continue down this storyline and paint Danny as some sort of evil mastermind here. But it actually was Nicole's original idea.
I think like when David gets out, or if David gets out, or whatever it goes, eventually he's going to be in jury. He's going to talk to Ian, and why would David still be lying when he's out of the game and can't win? Like there's no incentive anymore. So then Ian is going to start thinking, if he hasn't already, okay, maybe it was one of those other 3 who had the most to gain from lying about it. Obviously Nicole.
Well,
and like
told the truth though to Ian in her goodbye message.
True. Did she say that's why she voted? She said, I'm sorry I had to vote you out.
I don't know if she said I had to vote you out. She said, I'm sorry. I've been working with a bigger alliance. I couldn't tell you. Like, I don't know. Her apologizing. Yeah. What is she apologizing for if she voted for him?
Yeah, true. I just think it was like, ooh, smart play. Yeah, it's easy. Like they're really duping Kevin and Devon. But to what end is this play gonna help their game too much? Like David was already kind of, I think, low and like ready to go in the house.
Stop chatting and get in here.
Oh, Brazil. I know, we were watching it and like I was like, oh my god, like they're actually getting away with this. Whoa, this is fun. From like the board gamey side of me and like those hidden trader games. I was like, whoa, it's working. But at the same time, I'm just like, you're living with this person and you don't hate them. Why are you doing this to them? It kind of got a little like sad at some points for it.
Brazil's hiding from her feelings. Brazil, we just started talking right now. We are 15 minutes in. So if you want to pop in, you already have the link.
Just ring the bell and we'll
you'll be notified when we go live. Another thing though, too, with this whole scenario is that, the Cody Alliance thing has had the numbers the whole game. Yeah. They've had the head of household the whole game. And the one time where Devon wins a power, they're so mad at her for using it on somebody that she's been friends with within the house. And it's just kind of like, how much do you want to stomp on these people? Like, they're just like pummeling through them. And they don't need to go this extra mile to pin the vote on David. Like, they don't have the numbers. Chances are they're not going to win the next head of household. They're not going to be coming after you. Like, they're just not a threat. That it's just starting to feel uncomfortable watching them be so ruthless when it's completely unnecessary.
Agreed.
And the also that they villainized Janelle and Kaser for wanting to split the house and have some sort of battle royale, but then they're just being evil on the like secretively and doing things that I think are way more malicious than Kaser and Janelle, that are like, they just call their shot and go for it, and if they miss, they miss, but they're just out in the open with their targets. And
Agreed. And it was interesting to see like Danny getting away with it and stuff, but I was just like, she's a little like off if she's so being like, yeah. It's like, I hate David, and then be like, yeah, why would Nicole turn? Or just like, she was just playing it so easily, which is a skill, but I don't think it was really like necessary in this time to flex that skill. And I think it's just making her look bad. And it's like the end game and all of it, I think, is just not. It wasn't advisable to do that whole thing. But I mean, maybe that's Nicole playing Danny because she knew Danny would go for this. Maybe making Nicole feel less bad because Danny will look more evil that in all of the Ian going thing, as opposed to it being Nicole's deciding vote. It's like, no, Danny went along with this lie and she was convincing Ian all week he was safe, even though she knew she wasn't. Like, it does definitely look worse, way more worse on Danny. And that's, I think, maybe Nicole, my number one player ever, Nicole, trying to pass off some of the blame and the guilt onto a now villain that she's helped make.
Sorry, who's calling me now?
Oh, man. Our dials are going crazy with so many people contacting us.
Nervous. Like, I'm like, what do they want? People notice, just text me or email. Phone call. They must want something from me that I don't want to give them. So David, though, he kind of wanted to split the vote the week before, just so Danny would get some blood on her hands. And then I feel like it was a pretty shitty move, but he goes and tells Danny that they have David for the vote, and that he wants Danny to make the sole decision of keeping or
Kevin, you mean, right? Kevin running to Danny and saying, like, this episode? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Kevin, and then about the fact that David was saying that he wanted Danny to make that decision.
Yeah.
When I was talking on Our Hap yesterday, I think it was Taryn was saying that, it was collectively discussed that they wanted to Danny to break this tie, and so that it maybe really wasn't actually a factor with David, knowing more info that David want her to split the tie. But in my opinion, from how it was shown on the episode, it seems as though she used the fact that David said that she wants to like put her in the button position to like make the button position to make the decision about the. And what are your thoughts about that in general?
Just, you're saying like how you think Kevin running to Danny made Danny even more double down on this behavior, or what?
Yeah, exactly. Like, she made her not want to go through with that plan, but even though she was never going to vote with them anyways, like she was lying the whole time.
Yeah. sloppy gameplay from David. Just say how you're going to vote, know your intentions for it happening, and assume it will happen that way. You don't need to spill out all your cards onto the table about every reason why you do something when your alliance already thinks, or you've already convinced your alliance you're going to do it. But then going to the HOH, who has their own mind, who's already put you up, doesn't trust you, like, why are you telling? I guess wait, he told Kevin that, but he doesn't need to. David doesn't need to say anything. Just say, I'm voting out Ian. I think a tie would be cool. Don't say like, yeah, like he really went into details about why, and like the dirty,
like, yeah, like
David was telling his alliance even all the like the nitty gritty as to why he wants it. Just say, no, I'm voting for Ian. I feel closer with him. And maybe mention to Devon and Kevin, yeah, you should do it too, because a tie would be interesting. You don't need to get all this dirt on yourself so that someone could easily tell that person. And I think I get why Kevin did it, because he's like, they're all just scrambling, those three of them, to not be the next one out in the hopes that something happens. And I think Kevin just did a good job of making David more annoying to the Power Alliance, and that's in his best interest.
Hi, Philip. Thanks for hanging out with us. So Philip says that Kevin is never highlighted, but he is equally as bad a player as David. I think he's a little bit better than David, but personally, I think what makes him the worst is that he spreads so much information and he doesn't use the information that he has to better his game. He just willy-nilly just tells all the plans, and, you know, he would have been in a lot of better positions if he kept his mouth shut, especially what I'm thinking the first time where he really spilled it, where I think it was detrimental to his game and the game of the people that he's been working with up until now, was when Kaser wanted to pull Ian in, and he just had one or two really good conversations with Ian and wanted to have him be one of the numbers. I believe this was during the Nicole demise. And so as soon as Kaser said, like, hey, like, I've been working on Ian, like, you know, I feel like I'm making some headway. He wants to work with me. Like, we might be able to have him as a number. Kevin, like, not even like a second later, he just like beelines and goes straight to Danny in the hammock and tells her exactly what Kaser had just said. So Danny, after they finish their conversation, beelines directly to Cody, and her, Cody, Nicole, and Ian make 4 prime to keep Ian in, and have a feel as though he was, you know, extraneous, and that Kaser can just pick him up. And so I think that moment was the most detrimental decision of his just spilling his like tea.
Yeah, they slick sixed Ian like they just did with Devon and Bailey, and they just neutralize any threat that you run and tell them exists in the house. And you can never have that like revolution rise up, takedown of a big alliance, if you just keep fractioning your own people to look the not worst of the already underdogs. And that's what Kevin is trying to do. He's just trying to not look like the worst. Ironically, always being the nominee in all of these things, though. So like he, even at the start of this week, he was talking about how how he felt good with Danny, and I think I have a good relationship. I don't think he'll go on the block. Okay, you're on the block. You don't have the relationship you think you did. She's just very good at keeping everyone placated until she's done with them. And he has to realize, okay, I'm your first choice for a nominee when you get power. We are not buddies, no matter what you think. So stop feeding this person information. Yeah, I agree that Kevin is also not a good player. I think that David's done a few more things in my books that makes him way more amateur, though. That's my opinion.
That's the biggest problem with David, in my opinion, is that he just really hasn't played that much, and he hasn't watched at all. He hasn't watched a full season. And so how can we expect him to realize that knowledge is power, or like, you know, what you say is very important. People can twist your words. Like, you kind of have to keep your cards close to your vest. You have to gain someone that you can trust. People need to trust you, or so you can't run through the game without some people wanting to trust you, wanting to know that if they say like, hey, you're going to vote this way, knowing that you are a person of your word. Like, he doesn't know all the things that are necessary to play Big Brother. They're just like little game things that you would learn watching and playing one time. And so I think that he was definitely at a disadvantage. And I think that for an all-star season, I think that I feel bad for the players as well to have to be maneuvering around someone that's such a novice.
Liability sometimes. Well, it seems like especially like Devon's feeling the most of that because she's been trying to work with him and trying to help him. And this was, I think, why Devon was justified in not trusting him is there it is. It's because of his track record, and like there's just no trust there anymore. So Nicole and Danny were great to destroy any trust between David and Devon, and they sensed exactly how to do it. But again, I don't think it's just that necessary. You already have your finger down on that little sub alliance that's already not working together that great. So I don't know. It was kind of like an unnecessary move. It was flashy, and I think it was fun to watch for a couple minutes, and then I just started feeling bad for David and for how it must be to live in that house right now. It must suck for those people, and I don't ever like that.
Exactly. And like, there's been a lot of racial tension within the house, and a lot of the people of color not feeling as though they can fully express themselves, including David expressed this in the diary room this episode. But it's kind of like, they're already having to stand up for something, and this is what they chose to stand up for these causes, which is like, obviously I stand behind that. And she's been protecting David from, week 1, she kept him, and she never wants to vote him out. And week 2, never wants to vote him out. Like, she wants to work with them. She wants to have the black men move forward. And I was always saying that, like, yes, this is an honorable thing to do, Devon, but do you want to do this at the mercy of your own game? Because there's no way that the 3 of you are going to get to final 3. It's just an impossibility because he doesn't know how to play the game. And so I just also feel bad that, like, yeah, if it was a regular dynamics in the house and Danny and Nicole made this game move and they decide to pin the vote on somebody, you'd be like, yeah, it's a good move, like, smart.
Have fun with it. It's a game, right? Yeah.
Right. But I feel like what it's brought up within the relationship between those two people that has this racially charged undertone. It's just like, I would have to fess up if I were Danny or Nicole when I see what's happening between them. It's taking outside of the game. They didn't show it on the episode, but Devon and David had a bit of an explosive fight, and she calls him an Uncle Tom. And so he's definitely very offended by that. Do you know what that derogatory term stands for? So basically it means that a black person is siding with white people, like, as opposed to like being protective of their own race. And so they would easily just go right and make sure that they protect the white person or stand up for them. And so an Uncle Tom is a person that would do that. And so obviously David is offended by this, and obviously as well, I don't think Devon should have said that, but that's what she is feeling in this situation. It's coming out of game, Yeah. And so what do you think about that whole scenario?
That's kind of unfair for Devon to say, but she's also assuming without any shred of a doubt that this is the reality, that David completely lied to her face and duped her even when she was hesitant to even trust him and made him swear on all these things. But like, she has to think, is there a tiny possibility that he is not lying to me? In that, if that is the reality, am I still going to be confident with the things I said to him? No. Okay, maybe just don't say them. Like, it's again, that's an unnecessary thing to express, even if you are frustrated. And she prides herself as someone who's really good at like biting her tongue or keeping professional or whatever she says it as. And I just think that was a bit of a slip. I also don't know their dynamic as well in the house, but I think yeah, hurt people, I guess. And she feels really hurt right now.
She definitely feels really hurt. She definitely, I was saying this yesterday, that she doesn't want to be duped by David. I think that that's a big, like, I think everybody in the house, like, oh, I don't want to be duped by David. Like, I don't want him to have one up.
David.
Exactly. And so I think that, with her mending fences with Nicole, and they're supposed to come in with this kind of clean slate, and they talked everything through, and they're supposed to be working together in this women's alliance thing, that like Nicole wouldn't lie to her face. But David has shown in the past, like when he didn't tell David or Devon and Kevin about his power, like she knows that it's possible to not trust him because he's done things that are untrustworthy. And so
the groundwork was there for a setup. Like, it was there. That's why I can't blame Devon for just being like sticking to her guns, that it was a dirty move and he's untrustworthy and he's over in this game for her. But even if that's the case, you don't need to say something that will personally offend someone. If you want to think just strategy and game, they have a jury vote. Are they gonna vote for you now that you've offended them that way? You probably just didn't need to say it, because she should always be thinking in playing the game. And I don't think that was a smart game move on Devon's part to say that.
Well, and I mean, with the whole thing in general, she started to lie about, she started to assume the vote. So she was saying to Tyler, like, no, I voted to keep you. David fled. I don't know. She's like lying about the vote. I can't really dictate how she's navigating this, because she's also trying to set David up for voting Tyler out, but she doesn't believe Tyler, and so she's trying to claim the vote that Nicole did. Right?
Who is this?
Devon. So Devon is telling Tyler that David flipped, but saying that that's a lie, basically. Like, she's not telling him that, but like, that's the lie, and she's assuming that David did flip and keep Tyler, but she's saying that she's the one that kept Tyler. But David, as we know as an audience, voted Tyler out, and the person who flipped was Nicole. So Tyler knows that Devon's lying here, and so it's just become like even more so of a mess.
Yeah.
And
now, it's a bit hypocritical if you're going to use someone's vote to be mad at them, or their supposed vote to be mad at them, and then try and lie about your own. And like, it seems like she could call it what it is, move on from the week, be hurt, and just, okay, red flag about David until proven otherwise. She's definitely guilty till proven innocent with David right now. And I think any further meddling in this already chaotic. She was already set up. She already knows people have knowledge over her and power over her. Why did she think she could get away with this? This is why I said anything. Like, I just assumed it will come out exactly who voted for who, because everyone else in the house knows not how Nicole voted. It's going to get down to top 5, top 6, and be like, remember that thing? It actually wasn't David. It was Nicole. Let's vote her out. Like, it's going to come to light. So why are they doubling down so hard on this line?
What part of the issue is that now Nicole doesn't want Devon to be part of the conversation anymore, because she knows that it's going to come out, and so she's less likely to want to keep her now. And so that's kind of where Nicole's looking at, she doesn't want to keep Devon anymore. She doesn't want to work with her anymore, because the fact that Nicole duped Devon, and in order for Devon to not find out in the house, she's going to get her kicked out, and she probably won't even know that Nicole didn't vote for her. But she better fessed up in that exit interview, because
well, I forget what Nicole said in week 1, right when they got in the house, being like, Devon, I owe you. You changed my life. I owe you everything. I forget if she said, I'll never vote you out, or I'll vote for you in the end if you're up there. Like, I forget what Nicole said, but she's not making too good on it. But I also think Devon's making her own moves against Nicole's alliance in ways. So I think Nicole maybe feels justified to now turn on Devon. It was built on mistrust right from the start, and this is the manifestation of it all.
So Philip is saying that, do you think if Cody's alliance wasn't pregame, David's bumbling would have been more interesting given he won comps? I don't find watching people that don't know how to play with people that know how to play. It's kind of like, I don't want to play poker with somebody that's never played poker before, because part of the enjoyment of the game, in my opinion, is being able to think like the other person, or make those hypotheses of what they must do if they do this, and kind of using that as a gauge as to how I make my moves. And so with having someone bumbling like that, it's just kind of like, oh, I gotta get rid of them, because like I don't want to put strategy into the equation here, because there is no logic or strategy that is attached to their motive. So I personally stand the bumbling. I don't know if you have the same opinion.
I think the bumbling is a form of chaos, and we've both discussed how we don't love chaos in the game, as at least when I'm playing along in these kinds of games. Watching it, that's fun, cool. It's maybe going to shake up the house here and there, but like playing with it, no, you got to go. If I don't know who you're going to nominate, I'm going to target you sooner, probably, and that's why I think David's being targeted. I think even right now, if David won that puzzle comp, had Devon not had these blow-ups or anything before, or maybe they happened after we already know Memphis won, I forget the timeline, but I think Devon, still, if she was in good with David, let's say, would still be in the back of my mind, being like, this isn't really my HOH. David's probably going to put up people I don't even want up there. Okay, like, because he's just not a reliable ally, and I just don't think anyone wants to work with him, regardless of whether he's winning comps or not, and I don't think it makes his bumbling any different, and I agree. Anyone winning comps is how you make the moves and it becomes more interesting. But I still think that the only thing winning would do for David's game is just grant him safety for that week. It wouldn't really further his game along. I don't know. I don't think he would target the right people. He would listen to the lies, and I don't know.
And I don't really think anybody is making moves in their head of house. I mean, they haven't had to, but that is furthering their game and, like, you know, paving their path really well, you know, but at the same time, they have the numbers, so they don't really need to do that much other than get rid of the extraneous pieces. But nobody's just like making moves for like their game later. They're just playing for safety for each week. And that is boring. That is why they're getting picked off. Like the game that Janelle and Kaser wanted to play, they would have had a shot at winning. You know what I mean?
But one thing which I'm critical of, because I don't think you need to win a lot of things to do well in this game, and it's fact, you don't have to. But Janelle and Kaser were playing, talking to people and their strategies, and what they were basing their whole game on was on comp wins. Like they needed to get power to make anything happen. They weren't doing it as well behind the scenes, and I think they were telling too many people things, and you just kind of got to like, okay, the people win power, go talk to them, smooth yourself out with them before you start rallying the troops not in power. And I think they did too much troop rallying and were the poster childs for the anti-alliance that they got targeted. Also, the reputation preceded them.
Okay, they have the reputation. I also believe that part of the pre-gaming. So what has been rumored is that Derek kind of set Cody up with like people to play with, and like that alliance was kind of already loosely, obviously you'll have to win to be able to solidify that, but loosely predetermined in the pregame. And so also I believe that Janelle and Kaser were also main targets in the pregame. And so, you know, they already had their ideas of like, got to get them out first right away before they can decide, before they can get numbers to come after you guys. And so, but I don't think that they did a bad job. Like, I know you're saying that they shouldn't have been so obvious with their trying to recruitment, but they didn't know that Christmas was locked in with these people. They had some misinformation and they weren't able to see the truth of the situation. And then everybody was lying to them to their face. They didn't show it really on the episode, but they would have full on like lengthy conversations with Devon, and Devon's like, yes, I'm voting with you 100%. With Bailey, yes, we're going to vote this way. We have to. And like, so they believed every single week that they actually did have the numbers. And then on the last day, they'd be like, oh no, we're voting with the House. And so that's why it was looking as though they were just like trying so hard. Yeah. But in actuality, they were only trying because people were giving them the false hope that it was a possibility.
If everyone wants you gone, no matter what you say, good or bad, you're probably just going to be gone anyways.
Controversial question. Hi, J. Jobs. How are you? So he says, I'm assuming it's he, as of right now, is it fair to say that David is playing a better game than Devon? Well, they both won one competition. There's no spoilers here today, but depending on who wins the veto, would have to say that would be more determined, obviously. But as of right now, it looks like Devon's out the door and David's staying. And if that in general, like, David's playing a better game. He didn't.
My thing is, like, if you make it to top 3 or top 2 or whatever, like, you must have done something right. Whether you were dragged there or not, you did something right to ensure that you weren't the one evicted. People didn't say your name or you weren't nominated. So if David lasts longer than Devon, then yeah, in some ways he played a better game just because you placed higher than someone else. But I think Devon has set up a lot more better than David. That was a weird sentence. I think Devon set herself up way better in the game and had these connections and playing a lot more savvy. And she kind of let David implode her game from within a little bit in some ways. And also let herself implode her own game by believing the lies about David as well, about this past vote. So in that respect, I think David is playing a better game, but I also think Devon had an uphill battle, but just by being near and aligned with David. So it's kind of.
I think that if Devon had cut David loose week 2 and Kevin didn't allow himself to start bad-mouthing Janelle to Nicole Anthony, I think it could have been a different ball game. I don't know if like the competitions would have changed or whatnot, but the people going out would have been different. It would have shaken things up differently. And I think that was her worst mistake, was keeping him week 2. And I know she was doing that because she wanted to support a Black man and his success in the game, and with the knowledge of how he was, treated in season 21. I get that, and I get the cause. But at some point you have to, I wish that she was thinking of herself first and know that like it sucks that I have to vote this man out, but for my game here right now, in order for me to do better in this game, I think that I need to take care of myself first. And so I really wish that she had, because she wouldn't be in this situation right now if she had changed things up. Phil says, hi, Phil, how are you? If you want to pop on, say yes, and I'll send you the link. So Nicole is awful. What kind of face that is? Happy face? Smiley face? The falling out of the hot tub part, or the tub part of the episode, drove me crazy. CBS needs to stop pushing this narrative that we need to like Nicole. Love you guys. I've enjoyed listening today. We love you too, Phil. Hope you're doing well. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. So I think that CBS is trying to paint Nicole as like, just kind of bumbling and like crying, like that she is likable and that we should care about her. But I don't at all. It's all a big eye roll to me. Yeah. Like, if you're gonna be a villain, own it like Danny at least. Like, I can't get mad at Danny being like, hey man, I'm not gonna let that happen. Like, yes, it's a little bit of an eye roll as well, but I'd rather that than Nicole being like, oh my God, I can't vote out my best friend, and then vote out your best friend. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then be like, oh my God, I can't believe I had to do that.
Her tears were gone like that when she left the voting booth. I mean, probably for strategy reasons, she didn't want to let people know she was crying there, but it was like instant and then instant done. So I agree we shouldn't really like her, and I think it's definitely they're pushing a narrative. But do I think Nicole Franzel is good at the game of Big Brother? I do. She's good. You can't deny it. She's good at the game.
I don't like her game.
Oh, no, I don't like the game, but she's been in 3 different groups of people, and she makes it far every time. And she's doing that again. And she does it in a smart way.
She battled back those 16. She battled back 16. So she didn't make it that far. Like, she did have the opportunity to come back and then make it further, but people knew to get rid of her sooner than, she made it the second time around. And they didn't show it. Oh, wait.
Well, I mean, you battled back, and I still wouldn't say you're a bad player because you had to.
But would you say me crying? The reason why I battled back in that particular one, though, is because I decided that I wasn't going to share all the people that I knew in that season. And so I didn't play as hard with what information that I did have. So I think it's really the same scenario, but I also don't think me getting to jury is that big of an accomplishment because of the fact that I did a battle out. In my personal assessment of the games that I've played, that one I'm the least proud of because of the Battle Black. So
Yeah.
I mean, you might judge differently, but I definitely don't.
I don't like watching Nicole. I think her game needs a lot of work, but okay, yeah, there we go. That sums it up. She's good. I hate it.
You are right, and I hate it. LOL. She just doesn't play a game that I would want to play with, and that's kind of like if I was in the house, I'd be targeting her because I can't stand her gameplay. I'd probably target Danny because I can't stand her gameplay, and so. How I judge sometimes the people in these games is whether or not I would want to participate in my favorite game with them. And I do not. I feel like they ruined the experience for me if I were to be playing with them. And they're ruining essentially my experience watching because I don't like the decisions they make. I don't like the choices they make. Yes, they get to the end, but I don't like their tactics. I don't like their strategy. It works. Just because you're a shitty person and you get to do well because, you're a pretty white blonde girl with blue eyes that can cry on cue. Like the fact that you're going to make it to the end because of your tactics, it's infuriating to me, especially when you can see how hard and how much Devon, Kevin, even David, like they want Bailey, they all want to be there so badly. And because they're not a fucking snake like Nicole, they can't get to the end. And obviously because they're not white. I think if they were white, they would have had a better shot. That's my thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we have the privilege of viewers as seeing Nicole's game transparently, and I don't know how much the people in the house are actually seeing it. So she looks more trustworthy, looks less snaky, looks like more docile, or like you can like vote, like just brush her off or brush past her kind of thing in the game. And us as a viewer, we see the things that infuriate us. But I think she does a good job of hiding those things in the game so that when the people voting her out don't do it. But the banners going overhead and the lack of powers Canada will give her, or sorry, the States will give her, would be evident. But I think in the game itself, in the isolated house, she does well at hiding those shitty moves.
What she does is she makes herself look like the victim. So the person that may see through her bullshit, she'll get them to be targeted. And so that's kind of what she did with Janelle. She's like, oh my God, she's so mean to me. She was asking me questions.
Yeah, because you were saying shit about her.
Right? Yeah. And she's asking her questions just about her life. Like, oh, so what are you doing? Like, okay, so da-da-da. Like, just normal getting to know you questions. Like, well, she's asking me really personal questions. And, like, I feel really uncomfortable. And I think she's just doing that to make me, like, upset. And it's just like, Janelle doesn't care that much about you, relax. But anyways, she just creates a narrative of her being the victim and that people end up like targeting them. So that's what she did to Bailey. Bailey said a couple of guys, a little saying. And actually Nicole, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that kind of made that into like a little limerick. It wasn't Bailey, I don't think, came at it in that exact fashion. But like, so Nicole got really upset and she started crying to Danny about this. And then she's like, now she wants Bailey gone because like Bailey said something to her she made herself the victim. So she has a reason to target somebody and like that. Okay, great gameplay, but I think that it's shitty human beingness and like it's a social strategy game. I don't like her social strategy, even if it works with people that are small-minded.
100%. She always has an army of goons that'll do things for her too.
J Job says, will David's anger incident be viewed harsher than Christmas? Absolutely. Did CBS edit them differently? I mean, I felt that they showed more of Christmases than I expected, but they didn't show her saying, I believe it was 3 times to 3 different people about how she was worried she was going to get shot and that she was worried that Bailey was going to stab her in the eye with a fork. When she puts her up for nomination. And so joking about these little microaggressions and I think that would have been a little more appropriate to show, to see that that there's an underbelly of microaggressions that were going on within this fight. But I was surprised that they showed as much as Christmas being the villain, or like kind of nasty.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, what did you think about how Christmas reacted to Devon naming her to be a have-not? So Devon named Christmas, and David named Cody, I believe it was. Cody had apparently just made some delicious tacos, and he's the sous chef, so he did not eat any of the food yet when they were called into the living room by Memphis to do the have-not. So what do you think about Christmas's reaction?
I thought it was an eye roll. And then, like, just even her, so what? Just because I nominated her, like, her diary rooms were so, there was no self-awareness in all of this. Like, I could see, like, on the spot, you're a little angry and you vent it and you get catty with Devon. I get that, sure. But then to still, minutes, hours, whatever later, go into the diary room and still be mad about it and reflect on it and then not realize why she might have done it. She's clueless. So if the diary room session wasn't there to back it up, I would just be like, okay, that's just Christmas reacting as opposed to thinking about it and formulating her opinion on it. It was, no, the diary room made her lose all credibility. Yes, of course, you nominated me. I'm going to weaken you so you can't do well in competitions this week, so you can't get me out. So maybe I can win. Done.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Like, you know, the week before, so the week where Christmas nominated her against her best friend for reasons of being an untouchable, whatever that means. And then, like, not, it's just, like, why are you not absolved of ever being a have-not? Because you, it's like, I nominated you. Like, why would you make me a have-not? Like, because you nominated me. It's like, I thought that was water under the bridge. It's like, well, I might not nominate you for, you know, eviction, but like, I'll take a little jab and give you a have not because you've just screwed my game over big time. And you pretended that you were my friend.
Yeah, I think like last time Chris was played, she had almost everyone on her side, no one really going for her. This time, kind of the same thing. And I think she's not used to adversity and she's proving herself to be a way more emotional player than we might have thought she would be because we're always seeing people be positive around her. So I just think that she was a little too emotional and then she could have been like, okay, Devon named me. I thought we had some trust. We don't. Cool. I'll name her next week. Take it in stride because your bitching and moaning right now isn't making Devon go back and change it last minute. It's already been done. Any word you say now is just making you look worse in all this. Just take the punch and pull and use it and fuel it. Like let it fuel your decisions next in the game.
I think the reason why she's doing this is so that she has a reason to vote her out if that's what is decided by the House. Like,
cool.
I think
tell her that when she's on the block Thursday night. I'm voting you out. Also, the have not thing annoyed me. I'm voting you out.
There you go.
I just don't get why everyone is so spewy with their intentions in their game. And this is an example of that. How much money do you want to bet that they called David in asking who he's probably going to make a have not? David said probably Cody. And then they wait till they're cooking dinner for TV. Of course, right? So
when's the best time to do this?
back to J Job's question here. I think if I recall it correctly, David was in the kitchen. He got like he heard Devon's kind of passive aggressive comments to him. Then he like realized, okay, she doesn't believe me at all. Gets up, yells a sentence, walks into the bathroom, paces a bit, and then goes into the boat room or whatever that little side cushiony room is. And then he just sits there alone. Like it was, unless there was more shown on the live feeds and he was actually like parading around the house for an hour. I don't know, but it seems like they really didn't show that much of David. And it was kind of just like someone screaming in a competition that they won or they were mad that they were out. It was kind of just like that. I didn't see that much.
Yeah, I didn't personally think that his anger issue or incident will be viewed as harsher.
It wasn't that bad.
I didn't think it was that bad. I think that he was beating himself up about it because he doesn't want to be portrayed that way. But I think I wish that CBS was painting Christmas a little bit more harshly, to be fair. Like I wish that they were painting everybody a little more harshly. They haven't showed anything about what they've been saying about Ian and whatnot. Nicole's lost a bunch of sponsors for the way that she's treated her best friend. And so I wish that behavior was a little bit more apparent as opposed to them just cutting the feeds more often when people say something that might be problematic.
Yeah.
J Job also says, "Hi, Chantele. Could you be a little more specific about your opinion of Nicole Francis?"
I like J Jobs. That's good.
We hate her.
Could you cite examples, please?
One thing that I always joke about, like that I hate, is that I used to think that Victor was cute before he met her, and then cut off his hair, and now he's like some like not cute guy anymore. Before he's like and now he's like I don't know, Franzel.
Mm. I just my only redeeming thing, I hope Nicole's life and actions are not like we're seeing her within this game and we've only ever seen her within a game. If we could see like, oh, her Twitter or these things being shitty to people, I would be like even more harsh on her. But like she's playing a bad game we don't like watching, but it's a good game in the scope of Big Brother. I want her. I think I would condemn and hate her more if I was also hearing about horrible things she was doing outside of the house. But this stuff with Ian now, like, okay, you lost a lot of credit with anything, and her sponsors are speaking to that right now.
She's always like what it seems to me is that she's a very needy human being. You know, she mentions that she's had to be weaned off of cuddles with her mother at like 16. Like, you know, she had to be weaned to go into the house of like cuddles with her pets, which is fine. Like, I love my pets too, but like I'll be okay going for 3 months. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be weaned off of it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, you know, even with her position and how she plays in the house, she does latch her on usually to a man and that she could, you know, have that kind of cuddly bond with. So this one, it's still Cody and slightly Danielle, but, you know, she needs to have that security blanket. And so I feel as though she might do things in real life that are similar to this because she's so insecure. And one of the big things about her relationship with Janelle was that when they were doing, I think it was some sort of celebrity Big Brother kind of event or whatever, and Janelle and her were roommates together. And Nicole Franzel was really upset that Janelle didn't hang out with her. Like, Janelle had other friends that were there that she hung out with. I don't know if she did not invite Franzel specifically, or like if Franzel couldn't come, or that she didn't want to. But from that point moving forward, she was saying that, oh, I don't like Janelle, I don't like her, she's mean, she's a mean girl, whatever. And so that's when that narrative started, was when they were roommates at a point. And I believe it was Danny that told Janelle that Nicole doesn't like her. I think that that's the person that's set that dynamic
and they
up.
were roommates. I don't know if you know that. Okay. That's kind of petty, but
who are you two guessing will be the first of the 6 that will go to the jury? Are you talking about the committee, Phil?
Probably the committee, yeah. Or are you talking about Toronto? I'm gonna say.
Okay, this is a spoiler. Well, it is a spoiler, but it doesn't really ruin your enjoyment of the show, I don't think. But so Memphis is head of household, so he's going to be making some deals, right? So he's made 2 final 3 deals and 1. So he made a final 2 with Enzo, and then he's made a final 3 with Enzo and Christmas. And then I believe the other one's Enzo, obviously, and I think it's Cody is the other one. So those are the two final 3s that he has, with Enzo being his final 2 in both of those final 3s. And he's named them both the wise guys. And so that's just so for having this discussion, you just have that little bit of information as to
This is Memphis, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, Tyler's left out on both of those. I think week 2, Tyler and him kind of butted heads a little bit. And I think it was like, whether it was mentioned or not, some like unspoken tension. So I could see that being exploited and fragmenting the group. I hope it's Nicole because she's a winner. Her fear is that now their winner's gone, Nicole's the only winner, she's going to be a target. And I hope they do that. Like, I hope that's how they play. But I also think she's going to get dragged along because she's whiny, people like write her off, and I think that's going to happen. So I want it to be Nicole F that goes first, even though she's on my team, but I don't think it will be. I think it could be like Memphis or Tyler, and maybe they'll keep Danny around too.
I don't think Memphis.
No?
Tyler maybe because I think Danny's coming for Tyler, or Danny might be able to convince people to go for Tyler.
Yeah.
I think that Danny actually might be number 1. Because she annoyed them with, she did at one point want to keep Ian And so the fact that she even brought that up kind of irritated them. And so
and Nicole doing that too when she was going having all her one-on-ones. Obviously, Nicole wasn't doing that unless she knew Danny was on board. So they assumed Danny was on board with these talks too. So yeah, they're a duo within the committee that everyone sees.
It's starting to not look trustworthy. With the fact that she was willing to put up the committee, and you know how Christmas is a committee and can be convinced by anybody to do anything. So I think that if basically Cody decides that Danny is the next one to go, I think that she will be. So I think Danny's in a lot of hot water. I think Tyler's in a bit of hot water, but he does have Christmas as in the Carolinas. He does have a final 2-3 for the triple threat with Cody and Enzo. So he might be okay just because they win stuff.
he's also I think a better social player than them. So I think even if people's minds are made up, he could maybe be could maybe be better at swaying people to still be on his side, even when he's a target.
J Job says smart to name them both the wise guys in case the name is said to the wrong person. What do you think about naming them both the same name?
Who is it? It's Memphis, Enzo, Christmas, Memphis, Enzo, Cody.
Cody, I believe. I could be wrong. J Jobs, if I'm wrong, Cody's the other person in the wise guys, right? Christmas and Cody are the two final fours, basically.
Poppins.
Question.
So naming them wise guys would be that if Memphis ever says the term wise guys, and the one overhears it, Christmas and Cody won't bring up that they're the one not in it. But I also don't think he'd say it in front of both of them because that would be strange. Yeah, if neither of them reacts when you say the word wise guys, it's because they're both in it and they don't know it. I don't know. I think it's a little risky, but I haven't figured out why. My initial alarms are going off that's a little risky, but I haven't thought about it why.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that, because I'm like, well, it's kind of smart, so you just don't mess up the name. It's kind of like having a mistress and having the mistress the same name as your partner, so you don't mess up.
Yeah.
Maybe you just think it's too cute, too flashy, No,
I think Memphis would have done it purely intentionally for strategy reasons. I'm just trying to get behind why. And if he says it in front of, maybe so he can't be caught in a lie if he's talking to Enzo specifically about which is the other person, just saying, yeah, I think it's best for the wise guys,
I think if I think about it correctly, is that it is an optimum strategy, and so that they don't ever maybe say try to cross wires, whatever, and maybe out the other alliance.
Yeah.
I guess. But what if Christmas was like, I'm in the wise guys, and he's like, no, I'm in the wise guy. I'm in the wise guys.
No, I don't think that would happen, but I would love to see it happen.
Okay.
Coxie's in it. We're douchebags, J-Job. Sorry about that. I think it's clever, and I want to be impressed as to why it's clever. My initial gut is it's scary. I would never do it, but it's clever, and I want to see why he did it. That's my answer.
I know he's one of the only ones that have had head of pedestal twice, or he is the only one. But we've only really seen what these 4 or 5 people have done with power, and so I don't know if he's that strategic. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he explains why he does that. He did that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's for that reason.
Watch it be unintentional. He just forgot he did it.
So there's nothing really else that went on in the episode other than the fact that Kevin in the diary room with his terrible read being there's a 5% chance that Danny and Nicole are lying here. So it's 95% that David is the liar in this situation. I'm just get your read right. And what is that 5%?
You can't use a percentage on a yes or no flick switch. It's not a percentage of truth or rightness. It's you're either right or you're wrong. So he could talk about if I feel like he's telling the truth or not, but there's not an actual calculable amount of truth that I don't get it. But I think he was basically just trying to use that example of I don't trust David. I think David's the one who's lying.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Phil says using the same lion's name twice really strengthens the bond with Enzo. That's true. Actually, that's really smart. because he will feel like he's in on the joke with Memphis. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? I'm with you. And then he will be more willing to honor that. Yeah, that's a really good point, Phil.
And then who do you think Enzo's true alignment would be to any of those three? Because he saved Christmas. We obviously know he's in with Cody. I think their alliance is the root. Is that, I can't understand the word he says. It root. Remember from week 1, he comes up with an alliance with Cody they're from New Jersey.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I swear it's called the root or the something. I've never understood the actual word, if someone wants to enlighten me. But he's with an alliance with Cody. He obviously likes Christmas. And he was trying to work on that bond. And now he's in this thing with Memphis. Who do you think Enzo would actually align with should he have to vote between them?
I think if it got down to that, he'd probably whoever he thought he could beat. I think that he's always scarred by the fact that he was taken out at the third. So I don't think that he would bring somebody that far along that potentially could beat him out at third.
He's here to win.
So yeah, he's definitely here to win. I think him, Memphis, and Cody are set up right now to win. They don't really have anybody specifically being like, I'm coming after you. Like even Memphis, like nobody other than maybe David a little bit is really saying like, I'm coming for you, Memphis. I'm coming for you, Cody. I'm coming for you. And like, no, it's never been coming out of people's mouths. So
we'll see that Danny Tyler conversation of like, look, they love how we're against each other. We need to join forces. And I think when it gets down to top 7, top 6, we might see a Danny Tyler. Especially if the other side keeps getting stronger, Danny and Tyler aren't dumb. They're going to know that they're the underdogs and they're going to have to work together as opposed to apart.
I think though that Tyler might want to take out Danny before they bond together.
Okay.
I think so.
It depends on who puts up who and who survives what weeks.
The root to build things.
I think it's the root.
Maybe it's route though. I don't know.
His accent's very thick. I couldn't fully understand it in that scene. Okay, so then we get Devon and Kevin on the block, which I called 100%. He basically said he was doing that to David. But as soon as someone tells you not to try hard in a veto or not to play or not to anything, smile and nod, play and win. That's it. You just do that because no one else in the house other than Memphis is going to blame you. And David even said in his diary room, I mean, maybe it's just a setup for a backdoor plan. Yes, 100% it is. So play. You would hate yourself if you didn't try hard in a veto. There's nothing to lose about never throw a veto is my point here. Always play.
I know. I want to tell you stuff.
Well, we're not going to because I got to go to work anyways.
Your pick?
Huh?
Can I tell you about like the veto? Who's playing in the veto?
Sure.
Well, the only part that I find most interesting is that Devon chose, I believe it was Danny, and Kevin chose Nicole, or it might have been vice versa. I can't remember which was which. Wow. And so that's who they chose. They both got house guest choice.
Wow. I was really hoping for a bit of a redemption of like, let's see David win it and save Devon. And like, I think that would just be a really nice moment, but
that would have been such, it would force Devon not to hate him so much and be so thankful. And like, it just might change the dynamic in the relationship a little bit. So Phil says, how can Kevin only be 5%? I mean, even being generous, he should be at 50% at this point. It's true. Like, it should be a 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be 95% sure that Nicole Franzel, this crying wimp, didn't lie.
It's crying wimp. I don't think Franz is going anywhere, so learn to love her because we're going to be talking about her for weeks.
No, I'm for the mind that I want all the girls to be taken out completely, and I want a boy to win at this point because I think the women have been playing really terribly, and a
little dirty sometimes too.
Dirty. They taking out their allies because they all just want to be the last woman standing. I don't find that their gameplay has been very great. Like this move this week, yeah, it's smart, it's good, but it's really really unnecessary. You guys are targeting them anyways. You already have the numbers. Like, you don't need to make them look like idiots at the same time. Yeah. It's just a little bit of a low blow, in my opinion. I don't like them. I don't want to root for them, even though Danny's on my team. I am going to put it all in on Enzo, and Cody, I think, on my team.
Me with Memphis and Devon. Like, Nicole's there as a, yeah, I know she's gonna get far kind of thing. I didn't know if we were doing points or not. And I'm like, I think, oh wait, I have Christmas as well. Holy crap, I still have 4 people.
I think I still have people too.
Yeah, poor Brazil.
Poor Brazil. Brazil only has.
I would lose. Yeah, I could lose Devon this week, it sounds like. So we'll see. But I still have faith in my team to go quite far. I don't know. I think the winner is on your team, though.
Yes, I think so too. So we should put a dollar amount on that pretty soon.
Okay.
Anybody in the chat have any other questions or want to chat about anything before we wrap it up? Do you have any other last thoughts?
No, I wanted a David HOH win just to see something different, but not because I'm rooting for David to go farther. So it's like, I don't know. I just kind of want them to throw in this divine intervention power to blow up an alliance and just like shatter it and watch it crumble, just so we can see different things. But
wait, do we have any time? Oh, we have a couple minutes. So before we go, though, do you want to speculate a little bit on who the neighbor is moving in on Thursday?
Oh yeah, I don't know what that means. The basement was just a little competition. The neighbor is not anyone, not any house guest related. It could be maybe like a Pandora's box, like secret thing that someone finds and has to like goes into it and can like nosy neighbor like peek in on certain areas of the house.
He said a person is moving into the.
Oh, it is a person. Oh, okay. Well,
if I can find the.
I came up with a cooler twist. A person is moving in next door. You think it's going to be an ex-house guest or something?
Well, okay. My ex-house guest guesses is Paul, but like,
nope.
You know, one of the things that she said was, I think they're known to newer fans and older fans, as well as a little bit polarizing. So I was like, okay, that sounds kind of like it could be him.
Yeah.
And then my other kind of offbeat choice is, what if it's Julie Chen?
Really? Very polarizing. But what would that do?
I don't know I don't know what the power of this thing is. Let me find this Dalton Ross interview.
Like, I want to say, like, they have to get more U.S. involvement. So I was like, maybe it's
Canada is like a collective neighbor.
No, they wouldn't do that. I honestly have no idea.
Okay, well, who would you, like, person-wise, who would you kind of guess?
That's polarizing and known to new and old?
The word wasn't polarizing, but it was like some fans love them, some fans love them, some fans hate them, or something like that. Hello?
I just don't know what the reason they would be there for. So I can't, like, why would they bring this person over that person unless they're going to have a influence in the game?
Like, a lot of people are putting all their cards in. It's going to be Dr. Will, because they said it's a BB legend. A BB legend. Sorry, that's another moniker that is for this neighbor, is that they are a BB legend. So that
Jose.
Legendary.
Yeah.
His full frontal nudity, maybe that is pretty legendary.
Oh, no, I didn't see. Yeah, Dr. Will. I mean, they like him. They brought him back for jury round tables. So, yeah, let's say it's Dr. Will, and he can give out a secret power.
You know, maybe he's going to run the battle back or something like that, you know?
You think there's going to be a jury battle back?
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's what the neighbor house is like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But
well, Ian might be there. It might be the jury, and they can watch in on the house this time. So, like, Ian might already be there. Until they show a jury house segment, maybe it's the neighbors are your jury, and they have a lot more influence than just waiting for the weekly recap videos, you know?
The only thing, though, that doesn't make sense to me is that they haven't told the house guests this, but they're telling the audience. So, like, they're going to be, you think they'd be spying without the house guests knowing?
I would hope so. That would be more interesting. Also, let's think about it practically. Keeping one big bubble with just like another studio attached to the other already studio as a neighbor house. You could just keep Ian and there, as opposed to having this whole other setup with more security or making sure it's running in a bubble sort of fashion the same way. Just keep it all in one film set kind of bubble. Okay, I changed it. I think it's jury. Maybe it's not any one house guest.
So they're all collectively the BB legend?
Well, I mean, Ian is the one there. He's the one person there right now, so he is a BB legend. Maybe they did it sneakily that way.
As Thursday night, a BB legend moves into the neighbor's house.
That would have been.
Oh, I thought I heard that. Wait, sorry. Let me say. They said Zingbot returns Wednesday at the end of the episode. Yes, that's true. Yeah. I was thinking Zingbot at one point, but then I heard that he was going in the house. Or I heard the announcer say that. Yeah, so Zingbot is happening this week, and so some people have been speculating also that maybe the BB legend is Zingbot. I'm going to be, hanging out with the house guests, but
that doesn't have anything to do with the neighbor twist, though. They really like to showcase rooms as being twists.
No, my point being is that I was agreeing with that before Zingbot was going to be part of the episode Wednesday. So I thought, well, maybe Zingbot moves in and learns about the house guests, and then the next week they'd have the Zingbot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you don't really have any good thoughts. Cool.
It's the jury moving in, and they get to watch the game play out. A lot of it. That's my point.
But I don't think that's correct. But I like that idea if that were. But just from the wording of it, he said person. So if you're saying that there'll be another person that would be moving in there if it was the jury, and so it'd be neighbors and people. True. So I'm just the wording is what I think is interesting. BB legend, like if David was out next, would he be a BB legend moving in?
They seem to think so. If they brought him back for Allstars, they already think so, right? So kind of got to stick with that.
Best zing when the Zingbot comes back. Probably Nicole Franzel. She's pretty easy to make fun of.
Hopefully.
And she has reactions.
I must run because people need their fried food.
So everybody here, if you are bored and want to come back to Reality Realnesss, we're going to be talking about Love Island. Basically, in 10 minutes, I'm going to come back here. So, Nick, if anybody wanted to follow you or learn more about what you're doing, where can you do that?
There we go. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm okay on there. I'll respond. I like engaging. And that's pretty much all I use other than Facebook. Same name.
Sweet. Yeah. Thanks, Steve Jobs. He says, thank you, Chantele and Nick. Thank you so much. We love when people come and chat with us. It makes us more fun. And we will, until it gets out of control, I will do my best to answer to at least post every single chat or question or comment for sure. You can find me obviously at Reality Realnesss with 3 S's on Instagram and Twitter without the second E, or at ShanFranFran or at Shan___Fran on the Twitter. Remember that we're on our journey to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe right down below. I know it's annoying, but just do it.
And tell your friends.
I know it's annoying, but just do it. Share with your friends. I know it's annoying, but just do it. And please ring that bell so every time that we go live, you will be notified, and then you can come on, hang out with us. So, final thoughts other than deuces?
No. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to the next one.
Yes, sir. Ciao.